Prominent Muslim surgeon just arrested by NYPD seconds before unleashing horrid plan on innocent. Here's what he was doing. And once again we are getting reports about a Muslim being Muslim. A well-known orthopedic surgeon in his quest to carry out the next 9/11 has now been charged with trying to plan a Manhattan terror plot. But here is where things get even direr. He is already under arrest for the ISIS-linked abduction and beheadings of 2 Filipino workers. Dr. Russell Salic will be facing charges in the horrific Philippines attacks before authorities even agree to extradite the terrorist to face charges in the United States. Filipino Chief State Counsel Ricardo said a court in Manila was considering the transfer request from the U.S. government regarding the new allegations which were made public Friday, October 13. Musa Muhammad stands at the site where 400 Islamist militants launched an invasion of the southern Philippine city of Zamboanga a little over 2 years ago, sparking 20 days of heavy fighting with security forces. The ruins of his old house can be found there, amidst several hundred other razed homes. Since then his family has lived in a sports stadium, refusing to move to a newly built house in another part of town. The real-life Hagwa Arts Express just rescued a family stranded in Scotland. The Moors, as the Muslims of the southern Philippine region of Mindanao are called, are known for their intransigence. For centuries, they fought the Spanish, Americans and Japanese for their independence. Today, they are fighting Manila too. Some 120,000 people have died, and millions have been displaced, in the past 40 years of insurgency. Muddying the picture, a separate communist insurgency is also sporadically waged in parts of Mindanao by the New People's Army, which is thought to consist of some 3,200 fighters. Yet many Moros, like Musa, are not victims of a heavy-handed central government but the casualties of infighting among their own kin. The battle at Zamboanga, which led to the destruction of Musa's home, started off when factions of one rebel group, the Moro National Liberation Front, wanted to signal their displeasure with the peace negotiations with Manila then being carried out by another rebel group, Moro Islamic Liberation Front. It took 3,000 troops to end the rebel occupation of several districts of the city, in an operation that saw 51 insurgents killed and drove 70,000 people from their homes. Now those talks have stalled and, in the frustrated void that has followed their collapse, extremism has taken root. Several Moro outfits have pledged allegiance to terrorist group Islamic State of Iraq and Greater Syria, ISIS, and carried out attacks in its name. One of those groups is the Abu Sayyaf militia, whose head Inilan Hapilan, now styled Sheikh Mujahid Abu Abdullah al-Filipini, has been appointed ISIS's leader in the Philippines. Presently, the Philippine Army is attempting to strike at the group's jungle stronghold on the island of Basilan. In one of the bloodiest days for the armed forces in years, 18 soldiers were killed and over 50 wounded on April 9. ISIS claimed responsibility for the killings. Shortly after, Abu Sayyaf beheaded 2 Filipino hostages. It's very likely that Abu Sayyaf will declare a satellite of the caliphate in the coming year, says Rohan Gunaratna, an international terrorism expert at Rajaratnam School of Security Studies in Singapore. Once that is done, it will be much more difficult to dismantle these groups. Already, up to 1,200 Southeast Asians have joined ISIS in the Middle East. Experts now worry that an ISIS stronghold in the southern Philippines will act as a regional lure, providing extremists from across Asia with a place to gain combat experience, before they set out to attack Asian targets or even targets further afield. The Jakarta attack in January that killed 4 civilians is just a taste of what could come, says Greg Barton, Chair in Global Islamic Politics at Deakin University in Melbourne. Next time they won't mess around with pistols but bring assault rifles, says Barton. That's all it takes to turn amateurs into a lethal bunch of killers. Some claim that the biggest threat currently is that competing, ISIS-inspired groups would seek to upstage each other with small-scale attacks. However, organized, international networks still exist, even if the influence of Al-Qaeda, which once funded training camps in the southern Philippines, has waned, along with that of its affiliates. Indonesian operatives are already trading Syria-hardened tutors for weapons and training grounds in Mindanao, reports the ISIS Study Group, an intelligence collective run by the Washington, D.C., think tank Center for New American Security. The area is evidently attracting insurgents from further afield too. Mohammed Khattab, an alleged bomb-making instructor from Morocco, was reportedly among the 5 killed militants on Basilan earlier in April. There have been rumors of Muslim Uyghurs from China in the area. And in January last year, Zulkifli bin Hur, a Malaysian described as a key facilitator between Indonesian and Filipino extremist groups, was cornered and killed in Mamas Bano in central Mindanao, but at the cost of 44 deaths among the Philippine Army Special Action Force. 5 civilians also lost their lives in an operation that turned the tide of support against President Benigno Aquino III's peace negotiations with the Moro separatists. Before the Mamas Bano tragedy, it looked really promising, says Richard Javad Haydarian, a security expert at De La Salle University in Manila. There were even rumors that Aquino would be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Unfortunately, a lot of journalists sensationalized the story, fanning anti-Muslim sentiment. Politicians running for office have then been trying to score political points on this. Further talk of a new, autonomous province within the Philippines for the Moro, it would be called Bangsamoro, has now been suspended until the general elections in May. In the meantime, says terrorism expert Gun Ratna, intolerance is putting down deeper roots. As an example, he points to the March 1 assassination attempt on a Saudi cleric, A.A. Karni. The preacher, who has been on ISIS hit lists, was shot while visiting Western Mindanao State University in Zamboanga for a 2-day symposium. Recent arrests in Malaysia and Indonesia clearly show that a new terror attack from ISIS in the region is imminent, Gun Ratna here warns. And the next one will be bloodier. The Philippines is extremely crucial to American national security and foreign policy in Asia. The country is a former U.S. colony with has deep historical and cultural ties to the United States, plus it boasts being the world's 12th largest country by population. It enjoys a lively democracy and the region's fastest growing economy with an abundant trade and investment relationship with the United States. But sadly ISIS knows this, and since they don't have the security infrastructure we have here in the United States, we can now see ISIS making its move to infiltrate and turn the nation into a hotbed of radical Islam. To the point where they are actually planning attacks there to import to the States. Although the Philippines is a staunch military ally of the United States, they still suffer from much corruption and ISIS just pays its way in. And to make matters worse, in 2014 former President Barack Hussein Obama dissolved the joint terrorism unit both nations had created in the Philippines in the wake of the September 11, 2001, attacks on New York and the Pentagon. Please share if you want to see this doctor brought to justice.